Hello, I am audible?
Yes, Divya,
Yes,
you're audible.
ma'am.
You're audible.
Yeah.
Janvi, you can start the session.
Abhishekta, you here?
Oh, she was saying January actually.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishekta. I'm a student ambassador in Alumni Affairs Department of SRM University AP. And I would like to warmly welcome you all for attending today's alumni talk on Web3 as a career, opportunities in India. Firstly, I would like to invite our Alumni Affairs head, Dr. Stravani Basuman. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhishekta. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you, Abhishekta. And a very, very warm welcome to you, Kaushik. As I said, it's a pleasure to have you here. And, especially for me, because you have been my first batch of students out here at SRM. So that, bond is always very special, right? Even stronger than James Bond. So, and I'm sure, the people who have gathered here today, the students who have joined today to hear you speak, they will, end up with a lot of enriching learnings from your end. And I'm sure, there's so much to learn, especially, from the peers who are a little senior to them. And it's a pleasure having you here, Kaushik. I wouldn't waste a single moment, and I would want you to, take it forward. But before that, Abhishekta would formally, say a few things about you. So my love and blessings for you, Kaushik.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now onto the session. Let us all welcome Mr. Kaushik Bhargav from the class of 2021 BTech Computer Science and Engineering. Kaushik is the co-founder and CTO of Zoth.io and ex-AB InBev. As a student, Kaushik used to actively participate in various activities of Nextech Lab and InnoVab, and he has also been a visiting scholar to the University of California, Berkeley. Without any further delay, I hand over the session to Mr. Kaushik. Meanwhile, I would like you all to drop any questions you have on the chat box on the board. We are going to pick them up after the at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Kaushik.
Yeah, thanks, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction. Thanks, Abhishekta. As I'm not sure if the most importantly before start, I'll just try to give you a view on myself. I've passed out in 2021. I've studied computer science at SRMAP. During the campus, I was primarily working at Nextech. I was also involved in a lot of activities above and beyond tech. After passing out, I joined AB InBev. I was working there for the innovation arm of AB InBev, primarily working towards metaverse, Web3, and other initiatives of AB InBev. AB InBev is the world's largest beer company. Right now, I've moved on and I've started something called Zoth. More about Zoth coming later, but we are trying to build the world's largest alternative investment marketplace for individuals like you and me. And the primary view for the next 30 minutes is to let you all know what opportunities do we have in Web3 and what exactly is Web3, what opportunities do we have, and for a student who's probably studying bachelor's, what can his opportunities be? I mean, how can he start his journey? How can he or she start his journey into Web3, and also what kind of things that you have to focus, or what kind of things that you have to, the do's and don'ts of starting a journey into Web3. So yeah, I mean, I would just want to give you a quick view on what are the components of Web3, what are different things that people talk about when they when they talk about Web3. And then moving on, I'll give you a quick view on what I have done personally in my journey, and also what other people are doing, because times are quickly changing. There are so many things that are coming up in this space. So how to stay updated with all those things. So just wanted to give you a quick introduction about what Web3 is. Let me know if you can share my screen, ma'am.
Yeah, you can share, Kaushik.
It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
IT Chem people, are you here?
Yes, madam. Yes, just I check.
Yeah, Kaushik, I think so. Now you can share.
Please, could you check once?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Let me know if you can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for that. So before moving on to what Web3 is, I would want to give a view on some sort of terminologies in this space. You must have heard of metaverse. You must have heard of NFTs, which were pretty hyped up for the past 2-3 years. I just wanted to give you what these terminologies are. I'm pretty sure most of you would already have an idea, but then again, just to brush up so that we are all on the same page. Metaverse essentially is your virtual world. The whole concept of metaverse has been existing in the past also. For example, anything that's not in real world, anything that is towards experiencing things virtually through different formats, right? You have augmented reality, you have virtual reality, you have games which will take you through a lot of 3D worlds. And there's also anything that can be imagined. So the technologies have been there for a long time, but the hype has been created for the past few years due to some major companies stepping into this field. But essentially, the whole idea is to give experiences that you can't in the real world, or to bridge the gap between the real world and also the virtual worlds that we are living here. And how people are doing it is through activating different types of devices that will mix both the virtual worlds and the real worlds, and also introducing concepts of utilizing those giving virtual objects, the objects that have been in the virtual world, some real world value. For example, if you look at games that you've been playing in the past, I think pretty much all of you would have heard of Fortnite, would have played Fortnite, and the pretty much other games as well. In these games, if you've been playing them since beginning, you would have collected a lot of skins, collected a lot of items, which are particularly rare in that particular game, right? Now, in this current moment, there's no real world value associated to these items. You won't be able to trade. There's no marketplace, and trading is not so active. So all those limitations make you play a game for a long time, but not really have anything to monetize upon. That's where the entire concept of metaverse comes into play, where you not only play inside, not only have these amazing experiences in these virtual worlds, but also have something to own, something to share, etc. And they're powering it through different technologies. There are NFTs. Again, there are several devices that will bring the world into the real world, like augmented reality, etc. And there are so many opportunities in this space, which I'll come to later, but then just a quick view on what metaverse is. Moving on, as I mentioned, as I spoke about NFTs. NFTs themselves are called non-fungible tokens. I think pretty much you guys have probably heard of this term. There's so much hype that was created. The primary difference is something which can be collected, something which can be rare, something which cannot be replicated, but there are so many different definitions that you see across. But the major agenda of anyone creating an NFT is to give a digital ownership to give an ownership to digital or physical items. For example, the same problem that we have discussed in the past slide is the problem with skins in a game, right? Now, there are so many other people owning these skins. Maybe there is a replica of your skin that someone else is holding. Now, how would you give ownership to each of these skins in such a way that it can't be replicated. And that's, again, it's in the digital world, which is pretty easy to replicate. That's where people have utilized the concept of blockchain, where the ownership itself is on the blockchain, which essentially is immutable. So that means you won't be able to change the ownership, or the only way to change the ownership is through authorized transfer. And NFTs can be linked to pretty much, people have been linking it to some of the crazy set of things that you've ever imagined: shoes, virtual land, like, you probably have heard of Sandbox, probably have heard of Decentraland. So the people have been linking a lot of things to NFTs, essentially to create some value out of these digital assets, which essentially are not, were until now not being tradable, they don't have a monetization layer on top of them. Again, there's a ton of things to talk about NFTs and how they can empower the digital world and also the physical world. But yeah, just a quick view on what NFTs are. So overall ecosystem is where the whole space of a combination of Web3, combination of metaverse, and a lot more technologies come into place. As people say, Web3 itself is an overarching technology on which all of these are built. All of the other technologies are built. Web3 is the next version of internet. I'll give you a quick view on what Web3 is. So when the initial research on the internet was coming through, it was limited to certain systems inside a certain building. So it's very local. And the connectivity is between two systems. There's no like external connectivity that is involved. And there we've evolved into a Web2 ecosystem where there's a concept of multi-system connectivity. There's cloud that has come up. And that's where most of these applications have built on top of the number of connections that you have across different regions. Now, Web2, of course, lies with the client and server model, which means there are centralized entities serving a lot of information, a lot of data to your browsers, to your mobile phones, etc., where there's one entity owning, having a lot of control on the network. So that's where the concept of Web3 came up, where the control is distributed in a decentralized way, where every participant in the network has a say, has a power to own the data. So to simplify terms, for example, if you have used a cloud, for example, if you've been using Google Drive, the data that you store on Google Drive, I mean, of course, Google doesn't really give such practices, but then it means that you're saving this data in a third-party server. You're saving all of this information in a server which is controlled by a third party, which is not, you don't have a lot of authority on what the server should be doing with your data. Of course, you have regulations on top of it, which kind of maintain the system in place, but the idea is one party owning the server. Now, when it comes to Web3, the data itself ideally would be distributed across different nodes. There's no one node owning the data, or one server owning the data. Multiple nodes will act as a server, and the data itself is distributed among these different nodes acting as servers. So that's where you're creating a lot more dilution in terms of ownership, and also creating a decentralized way of storing data. One good alternative for a Web2 based cloud storage is a Web3 based. In Web3 is probably Filecoin, or probably any other technologies that are on top of IPFS. And also there are, again, several alternatives to all the Web3, all the Web2 applications that you're using. There's, in case of browsers, you look at Brave. For example, in case of browser, again, it's a client and server mechanism where you're requesting your data from some server that is giving you the web page. But in case of you using the browser, you actually participating in the network is not giving you any advantage in a Chrome or in a Firefox, etc. Now, what a browser like, let's say Brave, which is essentially built on top of the architecture of Web3, provides is that they give some rewards for you to participate inside the network of browsing. So you browse for some time, you'll get some tokens, which you can monetize on several other exchanges. So that means you participating in the network itself will give you a lot of advantages, a lot of rewards, just from just beyond the experience that you're getting through the browser. And there are, again, tons of examples that you can give. There are alternatives to every, I mean, this ecosystem is evolving. It's pretty early, but there are already alternatives that you can find for every other Web2 application. Social media, if you've been using Instagram or any other social media platform, like maybe YouTube, etc., where the rewards or the reward mechanism, the ad mechanism, and also the recommendation mechanism is all in the control of, let's say, Google or YouTube. That's where the algorithm part comes into play. But in case of a Web3 ecosystem, the content creator, let's say, if you are creating some videos or some sort of content that you're trying to put up on a Web3 based social media application, you will be rewarded personally by someone who's watching your videos. So that means the network itself creates a mechanism where the tokens are distributed in a way for the videos that are being watched, not through some sort of a centralized controlled manner. So these are the advantages. As a content creator, you'll be rewarded more, and there are applications for music. There are alternatives to Spotify. There are alternatives to YouTube. There are alternatives to cloud, etc. So yeah, essentially, you participating in the network, you having more say in the network, you having more control over your data, and also the network itself being more rewarding, more incentivized, and distributed and decentralized. And again, these are complex words, but if you, it's pretty hard to define the whole ecosystem in a few minutes. But I would suggest you to go and use certain applications, right? You can probably use Filecoin. You can probably start, if you're a beginner, start by creating a MetaMask wallet, or probably start by buying an NFT. Let's say, how do they work, etc. Start exploring by yourself. That's the best way to start in this field. And again, the overall ecosystem itself is where your Web3 acts as a base technology, the next version of the internet, the next version of the web. And that's where a lot of these applications can be built, but also it requires hardware as well. For you to implement such a scale of decentralized network, you need probably technologies like 5G. And also to experience it in a really good way, you need a really immersive way, you need devices such as Oculus, or probably any other the extended reality headsets, etc. So for that, you would need additional devices. And also to create such experiences, you need amazing graphics, amazing spaces to enter and experience, right? So that's where metaverse comes in, where it bridges the gap between the real world and also your virtual world. And backing all of this, there are your blockchain layers, distributed technologies, which support the transfer of data, the storage of data, and also monetizing on top of it. You have to probably have a blockchain layer which will keep your tokenomics in tight. So that's the ecosystem, how it is in terms of how it is evolving. You have a layer which provides technology, you have a layer which provides ecosystem, you have a layer which provides your monetization and also providing incentives, rewards, etc. And on top of it, you have all these applications that are built, all the Web3 applications that are built. So yeah, this is general, a quick view on what these three technologies are and how they correlate between each other. Of course, this material is always available online. You'll be able to, you'll be able to do your own research and find more information online as well. I strongly recommend doing that. Yeah, so that's a little bit from my side. Let me know if you have any questions before we move to the next area.
So there's a question for you, Kaushik, from anonymous attendee. How are NFTs useful for the Web3?
Understood. Again, So NFTs as core, they provide ownership to several digital assets, several physical assets. One good example that I would give, for example, in case of digital assets, let's take, if you've heard of Sandbox, that's a virtual world. It's a virtual playable world. Anyone can get in and start an account. You can also probably try it if you haven't. But this itself is a virtual world, right? It's a piece of code, or it's some sort of data coming from some sort of server. It can be easily replicable. That's where NFTs come into play, where they take in the virtual data, convert it into some sort of metadata, which can be stored on a blockchain layer. Now, on the blockchain layer, once it's uploaded, as you being the owner, as probably your wallet address or probably your account details being the owner, that itself is immutable. That means once the information of this particular asset or this particular digital asset, which is represented by a particular code or metadata, is uploaded to the blockchain, saying giving ownership to this particular account or this particular wallet address. All this information is stored on the blockchain. That means it is not mutable. That means no one can change it. That's where your ownership lies with you, and the asset itself is backed by the NFT, and therefore no one can replicate it because the data is on the blockchain. Now, when it comes to physical assets, again, it's the same. For example, you can take Nike shoes or something, where people have started putting RFIDs or any sort of QR codes, for example, are also being used these days. But RFIDs are a good example where the RFID has a specific rarity attached. So it's every RFID is unique. And this RFID, and along with the shoe metadata, along with a lot of details about the shoes, uploaded to the blockchain. And that's where the NFT is created. So if you have the shoe with the particular RFID and also particular information that is attached, probably the product code or probably, where it's manufactured, timestamps, etc. All of these are converted into metadata and are stored on the blockchain layer, creating a rarity for that particular item and transferring that ownership to your account or your wallet address. So this is where people are using in terms of two different ways, through engaging digital assets and also physical assets. So at the end, the core of NFTs is to provide ownership to assets, could be digital, could be physical. Let me know if it solves your question. If there aren't many more questions, we can probably move to
there are no questions as of now.
Yes. So in terms of how do you start your journey here, and I'll probably give from the first-hand experience of how I started my journey. Of course, being in bachelor's, it's something which is pretty confusing where to start. There's several online resources. You go onto Twitter, there's a bunch of people posting different roadmaps for Web3, etc. But for me, I think it's through community. That's where the whole advantage of being in a college works. So to first start your development, you have to be a part, because Web3 itself, again, as I mentioned, it gives ownership to each and every individual in the network, depending upon the amount of participation or amount of stake that the individual has. That's where your portion of the community, the point of community comes into play, where as a student, you have several opportunities to participate in these communities. One good way to participate is being a part of your favorite companies, Telegram groups or Discord groups or Twitter accounts, etc., Twitter spaces, etc. And having a social presence is, you don't have to be active on social media, especially on any of the three applications that I mentioned, but the whole Web3 community is in this space. If you look at most of the NFT enthusiasts, they are probably talking a lot on Discord or Twitter. If you look at the companies or their solution teams or their developer teams, they're on either Discord or Telegram. And any other community or DAO that is on Web3, you find them on these three platforms, primarily on Twitter, Telegram, and on Discord. So first step I would say is to just go and add yourself, do some research on what Web3 is, What are some of the some of the companies that you have that you're interested in? You can probably look at companies like Solana or blockchains like Solana, blockchains like Polygon, etc. You can be a part of several groups that are present on these blockchains and just participate in the community. Don't have to be active, but try to listen to conversations, understand what's going on. So that's the first step that I've done as well. Participated in the communities, joined as many, a group back then. I don't think so. Twitter was really famous 4 years ago when I started my development. It's primarily towards Telegram and Discord. So yeah, first step is to participate. The second one is to contribute. That's where Web3 community rewards you a lot. There are several projects going on open source. Most of the Web3 projects are open source. So you can start contributing to the, such projects, and also not just you won't also just get the experience, but you'll be able to get a lot of rewards because there's several grant programs. For example, some of the grant programs that I've personally, for example, as someone who's in third year or second year, let's say, for you, Polygon's grants programs, or probably the Ethereum grants programs, or probably any other blockchain, Near protocol has also some amazing grants, especially focused on developers who are trying to contribute to the ecosystem. Doesn't have to be really complicated code that you write. Understand what's going on, maybe bug fixes, maybe some sort of small improvements, etc., can also be made, and you can earn some pretty good amount as you're learning, as you're in your bachelor's. So that's one way to contribute as well. And the second way is participating in hackathons. This has worked out for me pretty well back in my bachelor's. One of the reasons why, from a point of view of organizations, right? Like, for example, let's say any other Web3 company or even Web2 company, the primary reason why they organize a hackathon is to engage with the community, identify the right talent, and also to see where their product, how their product can be used. So there is always a limitation of ideas and creativeness inside these organizations. That's where they seek external help in an organized manner. So that's where they probably give their newly launched API and they ask you to use it and identify any problems with it. What are the challenges that you faced while using it? Or probably they'll be like, we built something like this, but we don't know what we want to do with it in future, or we've run out of these ideas. You start developing on top of our protocol or on top of our technology, where you create new ideas and identify something pretty interesting that give a different perspective to the developers, which they haven't seen until now. And I would say some of the biggest companies in Web3 have come up from hackathons. That's something I would go for if I'm starting my development. Participate in hackathons, have your own team, or if you don't have a team, just go. You'll find some people who are searching for teams. Just participate in and try to explore as many technologies as you can. And it's also a great way to network. So that's something which you have to look at as well. And one more thing that I would do is to participate in DAOs. It's something which is I would say far-fetched. If you're starting your development, it's okay. But once you're matured in terms of the technology itself, you can start participating in DAOs of different organizations. Some of the DAOs that I am part of are Gitcoin, and also there is Crypto Devs, etc. And DAOs essentially are decentralized autonomous organizations. These are organizations run by the members of the network. Most DAOs currently are just Telegram groups, to be honest. Some of the mature DAOs are actually doing stuff, but these are communities trying to build something, trying to do something. So that's where you can join them. Of course, the level of participation is different at different stage, but if you join them, you'll understand how they work. You'll also have some stake in the activity that they're building, that they're trying to do. There are so many DAOs local to South India, local to India itself. Where the Indian developers, Indian communities have started these DAOs and start trying. Maybe they post a lot of events, they post a lot of meetups, a lot of hackathons, a lot of grant programs, etc. So join a DAO that you find interesting, that you're passionate about, and start contributing to it. That's one way that you can also participate. And some of the hackathons that you can participate are ETH global hackathons. I've been to a bunch of them. And also there are several hackathons that you can find on websites like, there's one called Devfolio. There's so many other websites that you can find a lot of hackathons going. Most of these websites in India, at least, are sponsored by Web3 companies. So yeah, please check them out. Yeah, this is a way that you can start at least, but why do you want to do all of this, right? Like why Web3 is important and why developing in Web3 is important. And as a developer, why do you want to invest your time into a space like Web3? The reason is because it's transformative. Web3 is going to be the next way of development. What open source has done to the way developers work, Web3 is going to add a lot of more incentive to what open source did. And that's where a lot of developers are going to move to a Web3 form of development. And also in terms of applications, of course, you might not be able to see a direct implication of a Web3 app onto you, but it is going to happen. Things are going to get matured, and next 10 years would be where the user adoption of Web3 is going to increase. And that's where you see mainstream apps being transformed into Web3. And that's where you've got to be ahead of the curve, and you'll be an early mover if you join this space right now. And also, if you're passionate about NFTs, if you're passionate about art, any other art format, or you're just a content creator, you're a designer, you're a painter or an artist, this is a great way to monetize, or a great way to sell your art, sell your work, or share your work. And it also gives a lot of sense for you to join a much more structured way of publishing your art. That can happen through NFTs. And also, if you're a community builder, right? If you're interested in building communities on WhatsApp, or building communities on in your college without any real incentive is boring. So that's where you can create a DAO for yourself, try to incentivize your community, try to build communities which are relevant, where people have more stake, more say, and which are meaningful at the end. So that's where Web3 again has an advantage over the regular Web3 community, Web2 communities. And in terms of salaries, yes, you have a lot. The salaries sometimes are crazy in this space. If you're a good developer, even in non-development jobs as well, the salaries are pretty huge in terms of comparison with a Web2 kind of role. So if you're starting early and if you're looking for a job, of course, just through a quick work, right, through 3 months or 4 months of learning, you'll be able to land up in a great role. Of course, these are early stage companies, early stage protocols that are coming up and trying to hire people. But me, as I am starting something, I find it difficult to identify right Web3 developers because they're so rare. They're not available all the time, and people have already doing a lot of things, and that's where being a Web3 developer will give you a lot of salaries, and not just salaries, right? Most companies have their own blockchains, their own protocols, and their own tokens. So you'll be rewarded in tokens as well, which is a huge impact, because I've seen developers becoming millionaires because they're early into a protocol and they've contributed and they've gained some tokens, and the token price skyrocketed. That happens all the time in this space. So again, it's not for the money, but still you can be rewarded pretty well. So yeah, and community itself is more active. There is a lot of discussions going on, a lot of different points of views, aggressive views on certain technologies, and also being very bold is something that you observe in this space. So it'll be amazing for you to participate in discussions and be welcomed here. Yeah, so these are some of the points that I can think of in terms of why you should start your development in Web3. But yeah, that's primarily from my side. I will be happy enough to share you certain articles or certain posts that I found interesting in terms of how you can start with your development process. Again, it would be meaningless if I just give you a bunch of words and say, okay, you can start with JavaScript or something. You research on your own, identify there are tons of roadmaps, millions of people posting about roadmaps of how you can start Web3, hundreds of videos on social media. So go search for yourself, identify the roadmap that you like and start acting upon it. And you'll be able to close it within 2-3 months. And maybe if you're really passionate about it, you might land your first gig within the next 3 months if you're starting now. So yeah, I think that's it from my side. Let me know if you have any questions on the development piece.
There's one question for you. It's from Harshita. She wants to know, how is Web3 useful for businesses?
Yeah. Coming from, again, a corporate background, I've also, in my past role, I've worked on several occasions of how we can utilize, Web3, metaverse, NFTs for businesses. Suppose, let's say, if you're a supply chain company. I mean, supply chain is a boring example. Everyone uses it. Let's say if you look at, anything, you're launching a new loyalty program, let's say. Now that's where the current loyalty programs, for example, Pepsi, let's say they have some sort of stupid code in the background. You have to scan, you have to type that code, and you get some text message, and it's really boring. There's no real incentive for me to do all that work just to get some rewards. So that's where people have upgraded their loyalty programs, where these loyalty programs are much more rewarding in terms of either people getting rewarded through NFTs, people getting rewarded through incentives inside the community, through a localized DAO. AV InBev, for example, has done so many activities in terms of improving consumer loyalty through their Bud NFT programs, the whole Budweiser NFT scenario, and have launched several projects in the past. And that's one area to engage your consumers, engage your consumer loyalty in a much more incentivized, much more engaging, much more immersive way. And one more area that companies can also look at is improvising their own internal systems. For example, a lot of companies rely on ERPs, a lot of companies rely on databases. And most of the companies are distributed, right? They're not in one location. So in one location, they might be using a different ERP, or in India, probably they might be using in a different ERP. And there is a lack of transparency between these ERPs and lack of connectivity. Of course, there are solutions for this in Web2 world, where they have a lot of plugins and cross, platform APIs, etc. But the better way, or most, a much more simpler way is to have a blockchain layer on top of it, where they connect all these ERPs together in a single blockchain layer, where you give more transparency and much more quicker turnaround time to all these problems. That's one way companies are also looking at. In terms of track and trace, there are so many solutions available in the market. Suppose if you're a logistic company, you want to track and trace where your trucks are, where your products are. You can use a blockchain network along with some sort of RFIDs or IoT devices, which can be integrated to your particular trucks or products, and can be efficiently tracked and traced throughout the network. Yeah, these are some use cases that I can think of, but again, people have been trying them. I mean, in terms of monetizing your merchandise, Nike has done amazing in terms of the whole Artigraph Studios, where your products not just are collect. Now you're trying to transform your merchandise into collectibles. That's where the whole game of marketing changed, where people are not just buying your merchandise just to showcase them or something, but also they're getting some incentive for buying that merchandise because it's pretty rare, and we verify your ownership of that particular rare item. And also you will be able to contribute to the whole network or the whole ecosystem that we're building on top of these on top of the NFTs or the merchandise that we release. So they release one set of merchandise in the beginning and share it to early adapters. And then on top of it, they'll release more merchandise going on. But the early adopters will have more discounts, or will be probably given it for free if they've adapted these sort of assets early. So Nike has done that, Adidas has done that. So many companies are getting into this space. But yeah, as I would say, you can again find these examples online. But yeah, massive adoption has been seen in terms of corporates as well.
There's
Yeah,
a next question for you from Prakash. He wants to know, what do you think is more secure, Ethereum or Bitcoin?
Okay, security is something because both of the blockchains are created for different purposes. Bitcoin is more of a payments mechanism, more of a payments oriented coin, where you trade, buy and sell just as a alternative for your fiat currencies. Ethereum on another way, yeah, definitely it's a good payments, good way to pay people as well, good way to make transactions, but also it has a lot of other activities on board where you can program your businesses, program your you can essentially program when these tokens can be released. So that gives you a lot of applications through smart contracts. You'll be able to identify the right mechanism of what can be done if certain activity goes on live. So that's where most of the Web3 applications have, that's how most of the applications on Web3 have been built. For example, let's say in case of Bitcoin, it's more of a transactional blockchain where you just pay for each other. But for example, if you use Ethereum as a content creator, for example, you can upload your video, and when someone watches your video, then automatically the money or the coin, Ether in their wallet is deducted and added directly to your wallet. So this mechanism you can program through smart contracts. So the programmability layer is added to Ethereum. So that's where you have a lot of applications. Security wise, most of the blockchain security concerns are coming from the end user. It's not through of course, there are some issues with some protocols, but then most of the issues that are coming in Web3 in terms of security are because of third-party applications and because of the end users, where there are cases where end users lost their past wallet addresses and private keys, etc., or just mismanagement of keys in general and mismanagement of user wallets. So that's where the security concerns happen. But in terms of protocol level, both are pretty strong, and there is no such security breaches that are that are seen publicly. Of course, there are activities in the past, but then yeah, it's more towards how people are managing these wallets, managing your private keys.
There are no more questions. I hope everyone's doubts are cleared. So thank you, Kaushik, for taking the time and giving us students insights about Web3. Now that we are at the end of the session, let's conclude it with a vote of thanks from Dr. Strabani Basu ma'am.
Yeah, before, sorry for interruption, but yeah, before that, I would just want to give you a view on what I'm doing at Zoth. And we have openings for some cool internships as well. So would love to have some of you join our journey towards building something really cool. Yeah, so we are currently hiring a graphic design. I'll share the JDs with the placement team later, and also the links for you to apply. You can also go to our LinkedIn page and apply there as well. But yeah, we're hiring for internships. I'll be giving you more details after this meeting.
Is the internship open for second year students as well?
Yes, it's open for all. I don't care about your experience. That's what Web3 is all about. Everyone's new here. No one cares about how much your experience. It's about how can you contribute, what capabilities do you have. You might have started your journey 6 months ago, or you might be really new, but you know a lot of things and you're a quick learner. That also works. So it's all about how much interested and passionate you're about than what experience do you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, Kaushik, can you share your LinkedIn through the chat box? People can interact with you.
Sure,
any doubts
definitely.
they can have it.
Definitely.
Inquiries. Yeah, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Sharbani, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhishekta and Kaushik. Before I, offer my vote of thanks to everyone, being your CDC teacher, I would like you to share at least, a few words regarding, apart from the technical skills which you are already extremely good at, you're brilliant at that. In terms of life skills and soft skills, what are the skills that you think is, required, or skills that are required, or the students that we have now who you are addressing, what are the areas do you think that they need to focus on and they need to develop?
Yeah, one thing that I observe, especially for, I was also a victim to this, is being scared to start something new. You should always be looking at, again, I don't want to be a motivator or someone, but then just to give you a really good advantage that you'll get is to do things first. Early adapters have always an advantage, and it's not even a fair advantage. It's a complete unfair advantage if you adapt something really early. And that's where some of the most successful people or some of the most successful companies have adapted something really early on to their journey. So don't waste time in just thinking about it, but start adapting certain, stick to one. I would say, start something that you like or you're passionate about and just do something in it, like try to build instead of just moving around 100 courses. So that's something you have to improvise upon as well. I was in the stage where I was browsing through courses for 8-9 months, but at the same time, when I started developing, I was gliding into opportunities within 2-3 months. So that's the difference that you'll see. And at the same time, try to take more risks. That's something, again, is something that probably you should also look at, where, of course, doing a lot of things in terms of a stable way is good, but then taking risk is something that you have to probably adapt as well. Not just risk in terms of life or general, but then try to take smaller risk in probably applying to some sort of a program that you never probably thought you would go for. And some of the craziest experience I had in SRM are some of the greatest risks I've taken in my life in the past. So that reward was pretty awesome. Some of the biggest conferences that we have been to are through having that thought of, okay, let's just take a risk and let's do it and see where it goes. That's how we were able to do some amazing things. Not just me, but several other members in the Next Tech Lab have been able to achieve such things through that risk-taking mentality. I think you should also, everyone in this age group should also adapt it. And, just in general, be communicative, be open about your thoughts, be bold about your thoughts, don't back down, try to communicate your thoughts well, and never try to, hide behind the corner, try to come up first and try to, be the first person to reply to certain things, first person to adapt certain things, because that will also keep you in the early stage and give you that unfair advantage I was speaking about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. And I think you yourself is an epitome of that risk-taking spirit, because you left a job and you started something on your own. You co-founded a company. That's really amazing. And I think there's a lot more to learn from you. And I hope the students who are participating in this or who are a part of this talk will gain a lot of things from you. And now for a formal, vote of thanks, Kaushik, I can't thank you enough. So you have always been, in fact, your entire batch is the closest to my heart. So I just can't thank you enough. And thank you so much for taking your time out. I'm sure you must be very, very busy with all of the, good work that you're doing, and, spending the time with all of us here. So, the thank, is endless. And over and above, I would like to thank Abhishekta for conducting the session so well, Divya, our ITKM people who have been a constant support, and last but definitely, the most important, the participants, our students who registered for this talk, and I'm sure they have gained a lot from you, Kaushik. And thanks to everybody, and thanks to you once again, Kaushik. My love and blessings are always there with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Can we close the session, ma'am?
Yes, sure.